Hello everyone, this is Anne from Odulcina Scrap. Today's video it's slow stitching and embroidery stitches that we already learned, so you can look in the description below for the tutorial video specifically for everything there individually. And we are creating a little fabric collage. I'm gonna start with laces that I have. Just in case you're not doing any embroideries that much and you have laces like that, that could be a good start, and we just complete with embroidery stitches. So I have this kind of, can we call it a lace? It's made to be stitched, uh, it made it's made to have fabric on both sides, I'm guessing, because the edge is just cotton. So I'm thinking if I put it there and I sew it there, and then I can put a little lace like that, a cotton, 100% cotton lace like that. I stitch it down and then I keep going on like that to kind of build like an old French piece of fabric that has laces and it's all in the whites. And you know, when you cannot buy it, you just make it yourself. So this is kind of my goal. So I thought I could stitch both at the same time, this one and this one. While I stitch this one, it's on top of the other one, so that should work. So I'll just align a little piece by piece. And I love to do when I'm slow stitching, you take a longer needle and what you do is you go in and out and in and out. You try to give it the same space between your stitches, and then you just pull. All right, so now I'm gonna do another section, so I'll just make sure I'm aligned. And I've used needles here to pin the other fabric to make sure it doesn't slide or move, to help me a little bit. So I go in and out and in and out. And if I see that I have a long stretch done, I can just go inside and then I go in like that, and I can do, I'll just make sure my stitch is okay, and I'll just do one little knot here that won't show on the other side, but it's kind of locking the thread. So I can keep going on, and when I'll pull on the thread, it won't pull the whole thing. Okay, so I want to attach it well here, and if you don't want to have some stitch showing on the flower here, you can travel behind. So I would do one stitch at the beginning here of the flower, okay, and you travel under the fabric with your needle and you get out at the other end of the flower. So the long stitches, you want to do them just behind, and then you can give it a small stitch like that. You go back in almost instantly, and it locks the flower there and it doesn't show anything. You just have one little stitch here and one little stitch here. Now, how I see that is because this lace is kind of wavy, it adds a little curve in it, and I don't want the curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch all the flowers from behind, and then I'm going to do slow stitching of visible stitches that follows the curves here of the sides. So I'm going to put my fabric like that, and I'm going to move to here, and I'm going into that direction now to stitch the flowers. So here I don't mind, so I'm going to do a stitch here that can be visible. If you do it shorter, it's a little bit less visible. So I'm going to come back, yeah, I'm going to do in the middle here just to make sure it holds well. So here I'm going to do a small stitch just to tackle it well. And I'm going to go at the edge of the flower here, yeah, like that. And so I have my thread here, and I'll just do a tiny thread beside, tiny stitch beside. Here you go. And then I'm going to pass behind till the other edge of the flower, and I'm going to do another small stitch here. And as you can see, we don't really see the stitches, but it's tacking down the flowers to make sure they don't go wavy. So one little stitch in the middle, and I'll keep going on from the edges. And I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do some slow stitching this way. Okay, I'm going to get out at the back because my needle is not too long. Okay, so you can see they don't show really, but they're there. Now I'm going to get out here, and this is what I want to do now. I want to follow the curves. So now I'm going to do the real slow stitching stitches. Here you go. I'm going to do a little knot here at the end. I'll do 2 knots actually. All right, so we are done with this one. I think I can remove the needles now. And so far, we have that. I already love this piece like that. And I think we can add some embroideries here with maybe little pink flowers. So I'm gonna stitch this part here and start working on flowers. As you can see, I did a little row of pink French knots. I tried to make them equally distanced. And now I'm doing a little leaf on each side, but the stitch that I'm doing, it's the petal stitch. So it's not really technically a leaf, but it's acting like a leaf. And you just try to get out from the back, and you go back in really, really close to where you went out, but not in the same hole. And then you get out again at the length of the little leaf that you want, and you stitch that. That's how we do them. But again, look in the description below. There's a link for every tutorial specifically for each stitch or rows. Now I'm adding another piece of lace, and I'm using my ruler between them to have the same space between the two laces. And I'm gonna do a little French knot again, a pink French knot at the top of each of those little flowers. Now that I'm done, I've used the same green, so I'm always using the same green and the same pink and white laces. So this is not really a specific stitch name. I just did kind of a pattern doing 3 lines. And I'm just going like that. And to stitch the other side of the lace, I'm just doing a little green stitch from the middle of the flower to the inside of the wave, just so it holds well the lace on that side too. And that's all. It's a little detail and it's just a stitch to hold it. Now I didn't like the slow stitching that I did on the cotton lace there. So I took a pink ribbon to put it on top of the slow stitching that I've done just before. And I'm using slow stitching again to attach this ribbon on both sides. So nothing really fancy or complicated, but I think that the goal when we do a piece like that, it's like when we do a collage in papers, we want not necessarily layers, but we want a ton of different little pieces. In my case, they're all rows of pieces, but still, we want variation. In the last portion of this fabric, I'm gonna do some ribbon roses with their leaves. So I'm using a big ribbon. It's a 13 millimeters, and I'm doing the ribbon rose. I found out with time that if I zigzag a little bit with my needle while I'm doing the stitches on the ribbon, the rose is a little bit less squarish. So this is my little tip. And sometimes when it's too hard to pull it out, I use my favorite tool. Sometimes I play with the ribbons a little bit. I try to move them around, see if that makes the rose a little bit more realistic. And in this case, I'm stitching with just a sewing thread the ribbons so they don't go out. So everything that I'm stitching today on that piece of fabric is securely locked. So if for some reason I decide to wash this piece of fabric at some point, everything will be okay. Assuming I don't know yet what I'm gonna do with that. So I then did a bunch of roses, a big in the middle, two on the sides, 3 times. And then I did some leaves. So again, I'm using a little smaller silk ribbon in the green, and I'm just doing the silk ribbon leaves, which is so easy to do and so cute. Again, there's a tutorial about that. Look at the description below if you're new to my channel. This video is part of a big embroidery tutorials series. So you might want to find the playlist called embroidery tutorials, and then within that playlist you scroll down and you begin with the first one, and then you move up till now and you're gonna have all the sequence. I started by showing how to do a French knot, and you're gonna see there's a whole sequence in learning the easiest stitches, embroidery stitches, up to now. And I'm doing different projects, so even if you just know one stitch, which is for starting the embroidery knot, you can already do 2 3 projects that are really cute. So I really suggest, if you're new to my channel and you didn't see the previous videos about embroideries, just look at my playlist and start from scratch, and you're going to learn it all. So I'm just doing the leaves, and I'm moving around the 3 roses just because that green silk ribbon has kind of a degradation in the green color. So it's pale and then it's a little bit darker. So I don't want to have all the pale leaves on one side and the darker one on the other side. So I'm going across the 3 roses with, while it's still the pale, and you can see it right now. Look, it's changing color, it's getting a little bit darker, and then I'm gonna go back through the 3 colors. This is only when you have a ribbon that the color changes within the same ribbon. So I did a bunch of leaves, I did a bunch of roses, and all together, if you don't look too quickly, it looks great. If you look too quickly, too close, I mean, you might find that sometimes a leaf is not perfectly perfect, but the goal here is that we are not expert, we have fun, we still create cute things, and we use them on our junk journal. For this last portion, there was that piece of white fabric between, and I'm just pinching a little piece of the fabric, and I go twice around it, then I go in and I get out at a different spot, and I did little pinch in the fabric like that to create some waves and just dimension. So that's all for now. I've put enough time on that piece already. And next week, I'm going to do something with that. Surprise, surprise. Thanks for watching. See you in the next week. Bye bye.